Hey guys, welcome to reading. Today in reading we're going to work on some writing. I know, not everybody's favorite thing to do, but it's definitely something that we need to practice and get better at, because if we can get really good at it now, when you have to write something in 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th grade, you're already going to know a lot about it and it will be easier for you. That's kind of my job, to teach you things so that you will be better at it when you get into these older grades. So writing is definitely something that we practice a lot on, and we do use that race strategy. If you remember, about a month or so ago we practiced some writing and we used that race strategy. The race is just, it helps us know what to write and how to write. It's just something that kind of helps us. So if you ever see anybody say use the race, you'll know what it is now. And I know my son still uses the race strategy, and he's a 6th grader. So if we know it now, it's going to help you the older that you get when you have to write things. So let's look at what we're going to write about today. We're going to be writing about the author's purpose of Biblioburro. And I know that we've already talked about it. We talked about this yesterday. We talked about the author's purpose of Biblioburro, and we actually said that it could have been both of them, didn't we? We said it could have been entertain or inform, because inform is when it's true stuff, and Biblioburro is a true story. We also said it could have been entertain because it was a story. It had characters in a setting, and we enjoyed it. So it was a story. So I would have taken either one of those. It could have been inform or entertain. But for today, we're going to say just inform. So if you saw this question here, some of you, if it says, what is the author's purpose for writing Biblioburro, you would have just said inform. You just wrote the word inform. But that isn't what they want you to do a lot of times. They want you to write about it. And when we write, you have to write more than one word. And that's how the race strategy can help us. The race strategy will guide us and help us write the right sentences that we need. And if you notice, yes, each letter in race stands for something. And I color coded them, or I made them the colors, so that you can know which ones go with each sentence. So the first part of race is restate the question and answer the question. And that's going to be your first sentence. Restate the question, answer the question. First sentence of race. So let's look at our question again. It said, what is the author's purpose for writing Biblioburro? Remember, you can't just write inform. That's not going to be correct. You can't even write it is inform. That's not what they want here. They want you to use the race strategy. So let's remember what the R and the A stand for. The R and the A stand for restate the question and answer the question. So when I restate the question, all I have to do when I restate a question is to just turn this question into a statement, or turn it into a telling sentence. So to get rid of the question and turn it into a statement, I just have to get rid of the question words, which are what is. Because that's asking you something. What is? Well, just get rid of that. And now we've got the beginning of our sentence. The author's purpose for writing Biblioburro. So now that was restate the question. That's the R. We're done. So we're just going to have to rewrite that. The author's. Oops. Let me kind of make that bigger. The author's. Here we go. Purpose for writing Biblioburro is, now we get to do the A, which is answer the question. The author's purpose for writing Biblioburro is, now we can say inform, is to inform. That's our first sentence, and we're done. To make the first sentence, remember, all you had to do was get rid of the question words. That's restating it. The author's purpose for writing Biblioburro is, and then you just write the answer. So that's our first sentence. That's pretty easy. Alright, so the next part of race is the C. And the C means cite text evidence. That means tell something about the story to kind of prove that it's really in form. This is kind of where evidence is where you're proving it. Just like a detective has to find evidence to prove what he thinks happened, where you have to find evidence to prove that it's really informing. So I've got what we've written so far. The author's purpose for Writing-Biblioburro is to inform. I'm thinking of what's some evidence that proves that it's really to inform. Well, I know that when you have an informing story, it's true. So that's exactly what I'm going to put here. It was a true story and told true things about Lewis. I just found something from the story to prove what my answer was. My answer was it was to inform. So I have to find some stuff from the story to prove it. That's all cite text evidence means. Just find some stuff from the story to prove it. So that's my second sentence. It's not so bad. Alright, and then that leaves us with our E. And our E means explain the evidence. When you explain the evidence, that means you have to kind of tell, well, what's the evidence got to do with informing? Because that's what we said, remember. We said that the author's purpose for Writing-Biblioburro is to inform. It is a true story and tells true things about Lewis. So I'm ready for my E. I have to explain. And when I mean explain, I have to say, well, this text evidence that I just told you about, I need to explain how that means that it informs. I just have to tell a little bit more. That's all the E means. Kind of just explain what you're talking about. So it is a true story and tells true things about Lewis. So I need to explain how that is informing. Well, let's think. Okay, so doesn't informing stories, aren't they true? Yeah. So that's what I need to say. Since, and a lot of times you're explaining, your E is going to start with since. Since informing stories are true, I know that Biblioburro was written to inform because it was true. Oops, I didn't spell true right. There we go. Because it was true. And I know that seems like a lot, but all this was 3 sentences, guys. And it's just a much better way to answer the question than just writing the word inform. This is what they want when they ask you to write. They want you to kind of really write it in a nice way. And this is what this is. The race strategy is teaching you to do that. So, I know that the race strategy is hard. It is. I agree. But the more we practice it, the better that we're going to get at it. So, I'm going to give you a chance to practice it, okay? Okay. I'm going to read you the other story that's in our little Unit 3 Wonders book. And it's called Lighting Lives. And it's the story that goes with Biblioburro. I'm going to read you this story, and then you're going to do the same thing that we just did with Biblioburro. You're going to tell me the author's purpose of Lighting Lives. But you've got to write it with the race strategy like we just practiced, okay? So I gave you an example of me doing it. You'll be ready to do it on your own, hopefully, next, okay? All right, so let's